The Iranian president has broadcast a message apologising to Iran's Arab neighbours for striking them with missiles and drones. And he said it will stop doing so as long as no attacks come from them. The recorded message comes as Israel steps up its attacks on Tehran, along with heavy bombardments across the country. Well, these are the latest pictures from inside Iran. They show huge explosions in western Tehran, where state television reported airstrikes at Mehrabad Airport. That's Iran's busiest airport, a main domestic hub. Eyewitnesses reported planes burning on the tarmac. It's exactly 1 week now since the US and Israel launched its assault on Iran. The Iranian Red Crescent says more than 1,300 people have been killed in the country since then. Well, Iran has continued to launch retaliatory strikes across the Middle East, including in Bahrain and in Dubai, where there's been a drone strike near Dubai International Airport. The BBC has verified this video showing the attack. There's also confusion about the status of flights now going in and out of Dubai. Well, let's hear the Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian apologising to neighbouring Arab countries on state TV.
I must apologise on my own behalf and behalf of Iran to the neighbouring countries that were attacked by Iran. The Interim Leadership Council agreed yesterday that no more attacks will be made on neighbouring countries and no missiles will be fired unless an attack on Iran originates from those countries.
Well, let's cross live now to Doha and speak to our correspondent there, Barbara Plett-Usher, who is there for us. And Barbara, we heard there the Iranian president apologising to Arab neighbours, saying, look, if you don't attack us, we won't attack you. Given that we've heard the Qatari Defence Ministry say it's intercepted missiles again very recently in the last few hours, how is that message going to be taken?
Well, I think they will look at the statement carefully. What Mr. Pezeshkian said was that Iranian military units had acted on their own authority and did what they deemed necessary after their commanders were killed. That seems to be referring to the Iranian defense strategy, which is they really decentralized the decision-making powers in the anticipation that the leadership would be taken out as it was done during the 12-day war. So in effect, what he's saying, I think, is that the strikes against the neighboring countries were done without a central command. Now, he didn't say that exactly, but he said that the military units were acting on their own authority and doing what they deemed necessary. And he's saying now that the Interim Leadership Council, which is a body of 3, including the president, which has taken over since the Ayatollah was killed, had a meeting and had decided that there would be no more attacks on neighboring states unless these states attacked Iran, and that had been communicated to the armed forces. So that sounds a little bit like a development. I think the fact that as the statement was being made, there was another missile intercepted in Qatar. There was a projectile in the United Arab Emirates as well that was shot down, but some of the debris caused a fire. There have been missiles and drones reported elsewhere. Will result in a lot of skepticism, but we will see in the coming hours, and I suspect by the end of this day, whether this has actually had an impact.
Yes, absolutely, and I guess if it does have an impact and those strikes and attacks from Iran do stop, that'll be so welcomed by the Gulf nations, because it has been an extremely difficult week for all of them in so many senses.
Yes, absolutely. The Gulf states and the people living in them obviously were expecting that there would be some retaliation from Iran if the U.S. and Israel started striking Iran because of the U.S. military bases in the region. And the Iranians had made very clear that they would target those bases. And the Gulf states had made very clear that they would not allow those bases to be used by the U.S. to launch attacks. So I think that part of it was not so unexpected. Again, the Gulf leadership had warned the U.S. that a worst-case scenario would be that the Iranians targeted oil and gas infrastructure. And that is what we have seen as well. So they saw their worst fears coming true. And there were security issues, obviously, with the with the incoming fire, but also the economy has been very badly disrupted, the oil and gas industry in particular. I think what Mr. Pezeshkian also said was that the region should deal with its issues itself, that they should come to peaceful terms, and that they should solve things diplomatically. So that's really the big question. If the attacks stop, what sort of diplomatic process would the Arab leadership be involved in? They had been very involved beforehand, mediating between Iran and the United States, trying to stop this. But what they've been saying since they were attacked is that they are uniting. They have united together in opposition to Iran, in defense from what is happening from Iran. And they have, I think what you see is that Iran has been isolated. And that may have some impact in how the diplomacy is carried out.
Barbara, thank you very much indeed. Barbara Plett-Usher there in Doha. Well, meanwhile, Iran has also launched retaliatory strikes on Israel. Air raid sirens have rung out in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv as Israelis face incoming ballistic missiles and drones. Overnight, most appear to have been shot down by Israel's air defence system. We spoke to John Donnison, who's in Jerusalem.
Well, the Israeli Air Force, Anna, says it used 80 fighter jets to carry out strikes on Tehran and central Iran overnight. As we were hearing, the airport in Tehran, the main commercial airport, has been badly hit. Huge plumes of smoke over the terminal there, a big fire. We've seen planes on the tarmac there on fire as well. And Israel saying it also targeted what it called regime infrastructure, missile stockpiles and missile launcher. We heard President Trump yesterday saying that 60% of Iran's launchers have now been destroyed. In the opposite direction, Iran has continued to target Israel with drones and ballistic missiles. We've had the sirens go off here in Jerusalem a couple of times this morning and overnight, and in Tel Aviv as well. Most of those missiles, we think, shot down by Israel's air defense system.
John Donnison there. As we heard earlier, Iran has launched a drone strike near Dubai's airport amid the fighting. It's adding to the ongoing confusion about the status of flights in and out of Dubai today. The United Arab Emirates says another Iranian strike was intercepted early this morning. Officials say it was a minor incident with no injuries. The BBC's Nick Beake has more from Dubai.
It's been a really confusing couple of hours here in Dubai. Let me try and take you through what's happened and what we know at the moment. So the latest we're hearing is that at the airport, at Dubai International Airport, the flights there are resuming once again, but it has been really confusing because just a few hours ago we had an alert sent out to everyone's phone saying that there was another threat of incoming fire from Iran, and the authorities said that in the early hours of this morning there was an interception of an attack from Iran and that there was some debris that fell to the ground. There were no injuries apparently, and the authorities saying that this was a minor incident. Explicitly, the authorities said that there was nothing happening or no impact on the international airport. However, a short time afterwards, there were flights that were suspended and there was an announcement made that operations were shutting. Emirates, one of the two flag carriers here in the UAE, saying that there would be a temporary suspension of services. That appears now to have been rolled back, that things are not getting back to normal, but certainly flights are being resuming. And I think, you know, if we look at all of this, we just stand back, it's confusing. And I think there will also be here a great deal of skepticism when Iran says it will no longer fire at its neighbours in the Gulf unless it's attacked by them.
Tell me a little bit more about people in Dubai, because you're hearing a lot on social media, and of course, you know, what happens on social media isn't exactly a reflection of what's happening in real life. But you hear some people saying, look, we're going to try and get out of Dubai, other people steadfast in their resolve to remain. What is the vibe in Dubai now amongst people? Are they scared or are they feeling quite confident?
Yeah, a range of emotions, really. And I think this is interesting, Mariam, because as we look out today, this is an ever-expanding city. Construction work is taking place. You might be able to hear that. Also, the roads are very busy too. Construction workers going about their work. Lots of people around. You wouldn't necessarily know that this is a place that for the past week has faced these repeated threats. And of course, Iranian missiles landing last weekend right at the start of this conflict. So some people are going ahead with their lives as normal. Others, though, particularly those I think who've been here on a holiday and maybe a short break, they're desperate to get out. They find themselves coming on a vacation and within hours being plunged, as they say, into a war zone and really wanting to escape. And we've heard from some people who've been really upset and worried that they haven't been able to get flights out of Dubai, that they feel abandoned by their countries and their airlines. We know that some people have been able to go out on flights that were resuming. Certainly yesterday when we were at the airport, Emirates said that about 60% of their flights had resumed. We also know that some people have travelled to the east. They've gone over the border to Oman and they've been able to take, for example, these UK government flights, emergency flights that have taken off. So a whole range of emotions, but I think everyone here, Mariam, feels some level of uncertainty.